Welcome to the Business of Law, brought to you by Bloomberg Law and the ABA Journal. I'm Lee Pacquiao. Today we're talking with Dean of Northwestern University Law School, Daniel Rodriguez. He's joining us via Skype from Chicago. Dean, welcome. Thanks for your time today, sir.
Happy to be here.
So in a recent letter, you outlined several specific points in an action plan designed to better address the realities of the legal profession. In addition to the ideas that you proposed in this letter, you also recently chimed in on the idea of allowing students to sit the bar after 2 years of law school. Could you talk to us a little bit about this idea and how it's going to help students?
Sure. Well, I very much was piggybacking on a proposal that had been put forward in New York. It's being considered. I don't know whether
that's right. Professor Estreicher from NYU. We had him on the show, I think, a couple months ago.
Exactly. So you know the background. So I lend my support to that idea. I think actually the idea, and as you know from talking to Professor Estreicher, although it's reported sometimes in the press as a 2-year law degree, it's not a 2-year law degree. It's just what you described, which is giving the option of students to sit for the bar after 2 years. They would need to complete a 3rd year in order to receive a JD degree. What this proposal, if it were implemented, does are 2 things, and they're both very important. They're different. One is it gives an opportunity for students who need to save the money from the 3rd year of tuition and can both afford and make the good professional decision to leave law school in order to serve what are in many respects unmet legal needs, with the benefit of not the law degree, with the benefit of the credential. And that provides an opportunity for some students. A large number of students? I don't think so. A large number of Northwestern students? I hope not. But a decent number of students to address the economic realities of the legal marketplace. The second thing it does, and I feel very strongly about this, is it puts law schools to their paces, by which I mean it requires law schools, Northwestern and other law schools, to justify the 3rd year of law school, to explain to students why they shouldn't leave after 2 years, why the additional added economic contribution of a 3rd year of tuition, which is obviously not a small amount, is justified by what they will gain from a focused 3rd year at law school. And that's a good thing. That is permitting students to vote with their feet and requiring of law schools justifying and in many respects reconfiguring, if reconfiguring is necessary, the 3rd year of law school.
That's a really interesting concept. How are your fellow deans around the country reacting to it?
Mixed. I've had deans say that it's a bold idea, and it's particularly I don't want to say courageous. That may be a little hyperbolic, but they say it's admirable that law school administrators, deans, who have something to lose after all by having students leave the law school, are nonetheless willing to be on board about this proposal. Look, it's about putting our money where our mouth is. If we're going to justify again 3 years of law school tuition at the rates that we charge, which are quite high, we need to explain why the 1st year, the 2nd year, and the 3rd year of law school is an adequate investment. I should say, in direct response to your question, some of my fellow deans have said to me privately, cutting off your nose to spite your face. How can you put some of the economic model of our law schools in jeopardy? But difficult times, I won't say desperate times, but difficult times call for difficult measures and call for us to be creative and innovative. And not all of these. Sorry.
Just thinking about the 3rd year of law school, I was thinking about a lot of the experiences of people that I know had at law schools way back when. The classes like law and society, law and rhetoric, good classes, good academic exercises to have, but not necessarily core competency types courses. Are those going to become a thing of the past?
Well, it depends what you mean by those things. So I want to put a good 1 or 2 words in for these interdisciplinary kinds of courses of the sort you mentioned. Reasonable people can differ about which courses are surplusage and which courses are very important. I certainly won't say that they're connected to the practice of law, but I think that law schools, particularly if you'll permit me to say this, elite law schools, serve the objectives of not only the students on the one hand, but the profession on the other by providing a rich menu of interdisciplinary courses. That said, I do think what will be of the past will be the let's call it the indulgence or the self-indulgence on the part of the law schools to simply offer a menu of courses in the third year and to say to students, just pack in the third year advanced courses in areas that are intellectually interesting to you and pay us a substantial amount of money for the privilege. I think what law schools will be doing, and what many law schools are already doing, certainly not limited to Northwestern, is taking a close look at the third year and providing the kinds of opportunities for training, be they externships, focused clinical semesters, comprehensive studies abroad, and other comprehensive kinds of learning. So the third year is not, as the saying goes, the year in which they bore you to death,
right?
But the third year is one in which they bore in on significant competencies so that our students become practice ready from day one and also become well-rounded lawyers.
One of the things that jumped out at me is that you want smaller class sizes at Northwestern. If you're going to aim at entering class size by something like 10%, doesn't that put your organization in a rather difficult position of needing to cut on expenses? And if so, what are you going to cut?
Well, we're going to look at expenses. My goal is, if I can put it this way, to have it both ways. I want to make the adjustments in the class size of the sort that I reported in order to make us more competitive in the marketplace, and also because it's the right thing to do given the present state of the legal market. At the same time, we're committed to providing a first-class, high-caliber legal education. So I'm not looking at taking a hatchet to our budget. Now, obviously, in order to make the arithmetic work, we're going to have to look at some expenses and make some difficult choices. But at the same time, I'm confident in our ability to raise revenue through other sources other than just through tuition. I'm counting on the generosity and support of our alumni and friends. And yes, that means fundraising and additional pursuit of dollars so that we can have it both ways. Have a more sensible size of our law school class, but at the same time deploy our expenses to provide a high-class, first-rate legal education. Yeah,
speaking of the hatchet, you've said that you're not going to precipitously shrink the size of the law school budget, but on a rough percentage basis, how much are you going to cut?
I don't know. I have no specific plans in that regard. We're gonna look hard at expenses and make sure that we are tailoring our expenses and our resources to the needs of the law school. So I have not trying to be evasive in saying that I don't know as we'll need to make any cuts in our law school budget. I think we'll need to be prudent stewards of our law school resources, but I don't have a particular agenda to reduce the size of our law school budget at all.
Your proposals on tuition also make a lot of the idea that you have one of the smallest increases in tuition among law schools. Is that simply to say that a decrease in tuition is simply impossible in today's world?
No, it's not impossible. We have to take a long, close look at the marketplace, as do my colleagues at other law schools, and we have to look at the question of whether or not tuition at the high rate that it's set at Northwestern, which is comparable to other private law schools and even many public law schools in the United States, is sustainable. And if we find that it's not sustainable, and the marketplace will tell us whether it's sustainable based on applicants to the law school, both in quantity and quality, we'll have to take a look at our tuition. What I was indicated in my letter, hopefully without too much spin, is that we are limiting significantly the scope of tuition increases. The question gets raised, just the one you put to us, is, well, limiting tuition increases is not the same as cutting tuition, and that's exactly right. And so long as we can keep tuition increases at a manageable level, I think we'll be doing the right thing for our law school. We'll be doing the right thing for legal education.
In walking through that analysis, though, are you guys looking more at simply employment stats, or are you looking at something like real wages? That is to say, if we see further declines in wages for attorneys nationwide, is that going to trigger a reassessment of whether your tuition should be higher or lower for the following year?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Absolutely, that's exactly the right question. We're looking at the number of our students who are employed, and I'm happy to report, and you've seen the data, that the vast majority of our students receive remunerative employment upon graduation. But you're quite right that it's not simply a matter of having a position, a legal position, at the other end of graduation. It's how much money our students are making. I do want to qualify that a little bit. Several of our students, many of our students, pursue public interest and governmental careers, even though they have the opportunity to receive a much larger wages in the private sector. And so we're not simply looking at maximizing the income and the wages of our students. We're looking at providing the kinds of opportunities where students believe that legal education at Northwestern is a good value proposition.
You also mentioned increasing financial aid by 25%. How much of that is loans, which would put students further in debt, and how much of that is scholarship money?
Again, excellent question. A good chunk of that is loans. There's no question that at Northwestern, like every other law school I'm familiar with, public and private, we tend to put most of our scholarship money into merit aid in order to pursue the highest caliber of students we can. And we put most of our money for need-based aid in the form of student loans. That is, in the long run, simply not sustainable on the economic model of legal education. In other words, we are going to put more stipend money, more scholarship money in need-based financial aid. And I predict that many other law schools, if they're going to make any headway in reducing aggregate student debt, are going to have to make similar choices.
Yeah. Dean Rodriguez, thank you so much for your time today, sir. This was really interesting.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about the issues we just discussed, be sure to go check out our offerings on BloombergLaw.com and also on the Bloomberg Terminal. You can see more of our videos on YouTube, and you can follow our updates on Twitter. I'm Lee Pacchia. Thanks for watching.